This peculiar looking folder is the Graphite made by CRKT. It's priced at around $45. It has a blade made of 8CR13 MOV stainless steel, which is not remarkable but pretty okay for the price range. It has relatively low corrosion resistance for a stainless steel, but okay edge retention, and it's easy to sharpen. So it's not a bad steel in the price range, but not outstanding either. It is hardened to 58 to 60 HRC. It has a hollow grind. And I definitely like the sharpness out of the box. You know, a lot of blade manufacturers kind of slack on that one, and a lot of knives don't really come particularly sharp out of the box, but this one definitely does. To give you an idea, it is literally shaving sharp, so that's quite nice, and you can definitely see that. I don't have to use a slicing motion when cutting this thin paper. I can just put it on there and push. It cuts very cleanly, no problem. The fact that it's still that sharp also shows you that I haven't really been using it much. And the main reason for that is the handle design and the lock. I'm not particularly comfortable with that. First of all, the handle is made of 2CR13 steel with a G10 overlay, and it looks pretty interesting, but what I don't like about it is that it's not beveled enough. It has, you know, fairly sharply angled corners. That doesn't make it feel particularly good in the hand. Also, you can see, you know, a lot of corners in general. It's kind of a square, jagged design. It's not very rounded by any stretch. And that is just not particularly comfortable in the hand. It just means that you have, you know, fairly steep angles just digging into your hand in various spots. The lock is very sturdy, no doubt about it. So I'm just going to show you here. You have to push this part in, and it's kind of like a lock back, pretty similar. So pushing on here lifts this piece up. So you can hopefully see, locks in there. So the tension here is generated by the shape of the cutout here. It has quite a lot of resistance. As you can imagine, it's really just the steel frame that you're pushing against. It requires considerable pressure to get it to unlock, and because of the design, it's pretty much impossible to close it with one hand, unless you're doing something like, you know, holding it all the way down, pushing it, and then, you know, closing the blade on something. So that makes it a little less practical than I'd like. What I do like, however, is the flipper. I'm generally fond of flippers, and the design of this one is quite good because you have, you know, plenty of space for your finger, and it's quite easy to open it that way. It's not the smoothest pivot that I've felt. You know, it's pretty easy to open, but it doesn't move as smoothly as I would like. It's probably going to break in with use, and you could oil it a little bit, but it's not, you know, buttery smooth opening. You can open it without flicking your wrist, but you have to give the flipper a pretty firm shove. I can definitely say that it's well put together. It's, you know, everything is rock solid, absolutely no wiggle, no play at all, and the blade centering is Perfect. So, you know, it's extremely sturdy and nicely sharp. It's just not that ergonomically designed. The overall shape is ergonomic enough, but it's just, it digs into your hand, it rubs, it's not really a pleasure to hold in your hand, especially when cutting something tough that requires a bit more pressure to be put into it. Yeah, you will definitely notice here. It is built like a tank, but if you don't find yourself using it much because it's not particularly convenient or comfortable, that's a bit of an issue. And that's also what makes me reluctant to recommend this. It's kind of a novelty knife, really, in that it's a very unique design. It looks interesting, and again, it's well put together and super sturdy and everything. But just for everyday use, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's just a bit too cumbersome in closing it, and it simply doesn't feel good enough to be willing to use it often. At least that's my take on it. So in short, excellent build quality, but just not a very practical design.